The price on the screen right now for Ondas Holdings, ticker symbol ONDS, is sitting at $7.78. That is a brutal intraday drop of 11.03%. If you were looking at your monitor, you were seeing a sea of red candles that feels less like a correction and more like a crime scene. The immediate reaction from the retail crowd, the guys checking their phones on their lunch break, is panic. They see double-digit percentage losses and assume the company is broken. They assume the narrative is over. But if you stop staring at the red percentage and start looking at the volume profile, you realize that expectation is completely wrong. Here is the reality that the headline numbers are hiding from you. This drop isn't a fundamental collapse, it is a tactical retreat. You are watching a classic sell the news event on a stock that has been overheating for weeks. The expectation is that Ondas is crashing because something broke in the business model. The reality is that Ondas is correcting because it just ran up massively on legitimate government contract wins, and the short-term speculators are cashing out before the real institutional money sets the floor. The 11% drop is ugly, sure, but it is the cost of admission for a stock that is transitioning from a penny stock science project into a legitimate defense and infrastructure contractor. This is not a death spiral, it is a liquidity flush. To understand why this is happening, we have to strip away the noise. Most people look at a chart like this and think the sky is falling, but let's look closer. Ondas Holdings has spent the last year quietly building what might be one of the most critical infrastructure plays in the market, and yet it trades with the volatility of a cryptocurrency. Why? Because the market doesn't know how to price it yet. Is it a railway utility stock? Is it a defense tech stock? Or is it a speculative gamble? The confusion creates the volatility you are seeing at $7.78 today. When you log into your brokerage account, whether you're using a Fidelity mobile app to check your long-term holds or you are actively trading on a platform like Interactive Brokers, you are constantly bombarded with top gainers and top losers lists. Ondas is likely sitting on the losers list today, screaming for attention. But smart investors know that these lists are often traps. A stock down 11% is often a better opportunity than a stock up 20%, provided the underlying thesis hasn't changed. And for Ondas, the thesis has actually strengthened even while the price weakens. Let's talk about the actual mechanics of this move. We are seeing a compression in the order book. The volume today is heavy, which suggests that a lot of the weak hands, the traders who bought in just for a quick flip last week, are getting shaken out by the algorithmic selling pressure. This is a common phenomenon in the small cap space. You see it with stocks like Tesla stock or Nvidia stock in their early, more volatile days, where a massive run-up is followed by a violent pullback that shakes out everyone who doesn't have high conviction. The difference here is the market cap. Ondas is small enough that a few $1 million in selling pressure can dictate the entire day's trend. Now, let's look at the business itself, because this is where the expectation versus reality gap is widest. The general expectation for a company like Ondas is that it's just another drone company trying to sell consumer toys or delivery gimmicks. People hear drones and they think of package delivery or photography. That is the expectation. The reality is that Ondas is building the nervous system for critical industrial infrastructure. They aren't selling toys, they're selling the data networks that keep trains from colliding and the autonomous systems that stop hostile drones from attacking military bases. Their business is split into two main engines: Ondas Networks and Ondas Autonomous Systems. Let's start with the network side, because it is the unsexy, boring part that usually gets ignored, but it is actually the financial bedrock. They provide private wireless data networks for mission-critical industries, specifically railroads. If you follow the logistics sector, or if you have ever looked into Fidelity ETFs that track transportation, you know that the U.S. railway system is desperate for modernization. The Federal Railroad Administration is constantly pushing for better safety tech. Ondas has a proprietary technology that allows for reliable, high-bandwidth data transmission over wide areas, perfect for the thousands of miles of track that crisscross the country. This isn't just a proposal, they are working with Siemens. When a company the size of Siemens partners with a small cap like Ondas to deploy their wireless technology for rail crossings and train control, you have to pay attention. The expectation is that this rollout will be slow and bureaucratic. The reality is that once these radios are installed, they become sticky. You don't rip out a safety-critical network a year later. It's a moat. The revenue from this side of the business is lumpy, which frustrates Wall Street, but the contracts are long-term and high margin. Then you have the sexier side of the business, Ondas Autonomous Systems. This is where the recent hype and the recent volatility is coming from. Through their acquisition of companies like American Robotics and Aerobotics, they own the Iron Drone system. This is a drone-in-a-box solution. The expectation here is that it's just for surveillance. The reality is much more aggressive. The Iron Drone Raider is designed for counter-unmanned aircraft systems. It is a drone that hunts other drones. In a world where geopolitical conflicts in Eastern Europe and the Middle East are being defined by drone warfare, having a system that can autonomously intercept and disable hostile drones is not just a luxury, it is a necessity. This is why the stock pumped recently and why it is dumping today. The market got excited about the defense implications, specifically the demand for hard-kill counter-drone assets. Traders rushed in, drove the price up, and now they are rushing out because the contracts haven't turned into a massive quarterly profit yet. They are trading the headline, not the balance sheet. But if you are sitting there with your Schwab Intelligent Portfolios or looking for investment help on how to allocate a speculative portion of your portfolio, you have to ask yourself, do I believe that drone warfare is going away, or do I believe it is going to escalate? If you believe the latter, Ondas is one of the few pure plays on the defensive side of that equation. Let's pause for a second on the psychology of the retail investor here. It's easy to get swayed by the green and red colors on your screen. You might be using the Robinhood app or checking SoFi stocks, and the interface is designed to make you feel emotion. It flashes red, you feel pain. It flashes green, you feel greed. But successful self-investing requires you to turn that part of your brain off. Look at the volume. Is the volume on this drop higher than the volume was on the way up? If the selling volume is lower than the buying volume was during the rally, it's a consolidation, not a crash. I want you to take a moment and think about your own portfolio. Comment below how many shares of Ondas you currently hold, or if you are waiting for a lower entry price. It is always interesting to see where the sentiment is. Are you buying the dip, or are you catching a falling knife? Back to the analysis, we have to talk about the financials because this is the biggest risk factor. The reality that we must confront is that Ondas is still burning cash. Innovation is expensive. Developing military-grade autonomous drones and getting railway safety certifications is not cheap. They have been funding this growth through equity and debt, which leads to the dreaded word dilution. Every time they raise capital, the slice of the pie for existing shareholders gets smaller. This is the shadow hanging over the stock today. The 11% drop is partially a fear that they might need to raise money again soon to fulfill these big contracts. However, the revenue trajectory is changing. In their recent reports, we have seen a massive year-over-year jump in revenue. We are talking about a six-fold increase in some metrics, largely due to the scaling of these drone platforms. The expectation is that they would stay a pre-revenue R&D shop forever. The reality is that they are printing $10 million revenue quarters now. That is a pivot point. When a company crosses the chasm from concept to commercialization, the stock price usually goes haywire because the market struggles to value it. Is it worth 3 times sales? 10 times sales? The volatility you see today is the market trying to do that math in real time. Let's look at the competitive landscape. You have other players in the drone space, but many are focused on the hardware commoditization trap. They make the drone, sell it, and that's it. Ondas is focusing on the system. The Optimist system and the Iron Drone are automated. They live in a docking station, they launch themselves, they do the job, and they land and charge themselves. This removes the most expensive part of the drone equation, the human pilot. If you are looking for online investing opportunities that leverage AI and automation, this is the physical manifestation of that. It's not just code on a screen, it's a robot doing a job that used to require a human in a truck. The integration with government entities is another layer of security. Working with the U.S. Coast Guard, working with foreign military allies, these are relationships that take years to vet. Once you're in, you're in. It's not like selling a consumer product where Amazon can just ban you tomorrow. Government contracting is slow, painful, and bureaucratic, but it provides a floor of stability once the contracts are signed. The recent news flow suggests they are racking up these wins, which is why the sell the news reaction today feels so disjointed from the fundamental progress. If you were using Interactive Brokers trading platforms, you might notice the short interest on ONDS. Small caps often attract short sellers who smell blood in the water when cash burn is high. If Ondas announces a big contract payment or a path to cash flow break-even sooner than expected, those shorts could get squeezed, leading to a violent move to the upside. But that is a what-if. We have to trade the what is. And what is happening right now is a test of support levels. The $7 to $8